Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, the 3rd of August, 2021. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you want your home decorated professionally or maybe you want to become a professional decorator of other people's homes, give them a call. They're at 631-957-5106, 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York on Long Island. The website, liholidaylighting.com. And, of course, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is their phone number for the best prices in town. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. I, Mr. Rayo, did not get out of the 60s today.
Wow. Hey, maybe we should all have just followed you down to Georgia.
Have yet to see 90. I did not get out of the 60s today. Now, it was cloudy all day, and it's been raining, not heavily, just a steady rain of varying intensities from about midday right through this evening. So that's the reason why I did not get out of the 60s today.
Okay, well, what else can I tell you except that up here we had, as anticipated, a lot of clouds, some dim sunshine, but the temperature and humidity levels remained rather comfortable. We will be trending toward a warmer and more humid airflow later in the week. But it looks like, Joe, a lot of the rain that had been initially been forecast by such models that, well, actually, the European was continuously saying that we were going to get some very heavy rainfall here as we move toward Thursday and Friday. And now that model is beginning to trend more south and east like all the other models. It looks like, at least up here in the Hudson Valley, we'll just get a glancing blow with a little bit of rain and shower activity here, maybe tomorrow night. But doesn't look like anything all that worthwhile writing home about. And it looks like we'll have we close out the week on a dry note. And again, maybe when we get into the weekend, we'll begin to see a more humid, sultry weather pattern shaping up. But of course, you expect that because it is, after all, August.
Well, I mean, there will be probably a period of rain and maybe even some heavy rain, I think, for Long Island, particularly central and eastern Long Island, and for southeastern New England. The first wave that's moving out today, other than some precip aloft, because none of it reached the ground here locally, the high clouds were all over the place. The clouds were all over the place today, and that, I noticed, held temperatures down as well. A lot of spots didn't get out of the 70s. For you, for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. And later tomorrow night into very early Thursday morning, you get this second wave that moves up, and we get into this rain. And then, of course, the frontal boundary, there's enough of a low there so that the frontal boundary gets pushed further to the east, so that there's a third wave Thursday night into Friday morning, but that stays pretty flat and stays offshore. You're right. This really is turning out to be, for most areas, again, except for the exception of maybe southeastern New England and parts of southern New England and Long Island, there's not going to be much of rain at all for the rest of the week. And then we're just going to transition over into August heat and humidity as we go through the weekend and into the first part of next week. And I was looking at the weather around the country is, for the most part, on the quiet side. I mean, there's not much, if any, severe weather to talk about. Of all places, just it doesn't happen too often. It's going to be up in the Pacific Northwest again today, and probably tomorrow. Otherwise, it's more of those midsummer showers and thunderstorms scattered around along the Gulf Coast, and the tropics are still in a snooze fest on the Atlantic side.
Yes, we have been talking about the fact that as we get into the middle and latter part of August, we may very well see the tropics wake up again, as they normally do at that particular time of the year. And of course, the peak of the hurricane season comes our way around the 10th of September. So who knows? By that time, we'll perhaps have a very active tropical weather pattern. But again, and right now, as you just said, we move into the early part of August on a rather quiet, tranquil note.
Okay, so let's take a look at the satellite and give it a get go here on the U.S. satellite loop. A lot of high clouds streaming up the east coast. You go inland across central and western Pennsylvania, upstate New York, northern New England. There was at least some sunshine today, and looked pretty nice back across the Great Lakes. Still, a lot of wildfire smoke that is in the plains and on up into the the western part of the Great Lakes. Just seems like the whole sky is covered with this milky white glaze that extends from there almost straight south. And again, it's the orientation of this trough, and you've got this northwest flow out of Canada that's coming into the plains. You see the high clouds that are streaming down north to south in the plains and into the middle Mississippi Valley. And there is rain, and some of it's fair substantial enough for potential for flash flooding up and down the Rockies. You can see that north-south orientation of showers and thunderstorms from New Mexico straight north up into Montana. That is the one busy place and of course right along the immediate Gulf Coast. Those are the two areas where we're seeing some action. And, Joe, if this frontal boundary were a little further offshore, you might want to look for the possibility that, a wave could be, sometimes they can become tropical in situations like this. And, but it's too close to the coast, and it's not going to happen. By the way, do you have anything you want to share? Because I got the share turned on. I got to step away for a minute, if you don't mind. So if you could carry the show, I would appreciate it.
All righty.
I'll be right back. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Joe is off doing his thing, let me. Indeed, I'll look for the share button here, and we can see what we can share. We could always talk about the Climate Prediction Center and what they are calling for the next 6 to 10 and also 8 to 14 days, and see how their forecast is lying with what we're thinking about. Share the screen, and here comes the screen, and boom. Amazing, the technology that we have today. So let's first look at the 6 to 10 day outlook. We'll take a look at the forecast for the 9th through the 13th of August. And as you can see, oh my goodness, we are right in the midst of an 80% above average, or an 80% above normal probability for above normal temperatures. So we are probably going to be looking, at least according to the CPC, for a spell of very warm to downright hot weather around here as we move into the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. This is 6 days out. So 6 to 10 days out. So we are looking for these conditions to spread across our area beginning next week, at the start of next week, Monday, and running all the way through the most of next week, all the way to the end of next week. So we've got a hot week if this holds true, according to the Prediction Center. Now let's take a look at the precipitation forecast. And you can see that the forecast is for pretty close, near normal precipitation, below normal as we head down the mid-Atlantic coast into Florida and even into Joe's country down in northern Georgia. And if you want above normal or showery conditions, it looks like that will be the story for central and western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania, and on across into the Great Lakes. So it looks like a fairly hot and rather dry week ahead coming up for next week, according to the CPC. Now let's take a look at the 8 to 14 day outlook. And we are looking at above normal temperatures again across the northeastern states, taking us all the way through mid-month till the 17th. And then as we take a look at the precipitation forecast, well, then we get a little bit moist as we get into the 11th through the 17th. So again, toward the middle part of the month of August, we may very well see more of a showery and possibly thundery weather pattern.
There's no sharing going on, not on my screen.
I'm back. I'm back.
According to Mrs. Rayo, there is no sharing going on even though it says quite clearly on my screen that I'm screen sharing, Joe. Is do you
Oh.
see sharing on your screen or?
Oh, I know why. Okay, that was my fault. Sorry about that.
Oh, it was his fault. Sorry about that.
Here we go. There's your screen share.
Technology again.
No,
Technology.
no, it's my brain. I had to excuse myself. The moral of this story is never eat a half a pound of cherries before the beginning of the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Just let's leave it at that.
Far too much information.
I didn't give you any information other than the fact that I ate a half a pound of cherries. You can use your imagination to figure out what may have happened afterward, if you'd like.
Yes. Never mind.
There's some weird stuff going on here too with regards to the signal I'm seeing. So anyway, I'm sorry, Joe. You have the screen share is up now, so you can go ahead.
I knew somebody who ate the world's largest prune and set an all-time record. And about 25 minutes later, he set another record. But let me move forward here.
Yes, please, by all means, do.
This is what I was talking about before from the climate predictions. 80% Joe and everybody would suggest that next week that are well above very warm to down wave next week. As far as precipitation wise, at the same time goes, we've got no, not at the same time. Here we go. We've got near to even below north to the Atlantic seaboard. So it could very well be a hot and relatively dry week with showers and scattered thunderstorms possibly more prevalent to the west across western New York, Pennsylvania, and into the Great Lakes. And looks like that siege of heat may very well continue right on through past next Friday, all the way till the 17th of August. And as we progress through into the middle part of August, we have precipitation that begins to become more widespread and above normal across much of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and down to parts of the southeastern United States.
Okay. Well, okay, good. So now I'll switch over to the radar, so hang on one second. There's some weird stuff going on here, folks, so just so if you're having some issues, I apologize for them. There's something going on. I'm watching the strength of my signal go all over the place. I'm getting all sorts of interference. So I don't know if it's translating, but if it is, my apologies. So yeah, Christina Pedia saying that we're buffering just a little bit. Yeah, I just tried to do something to maybe reduce that. Keith James II, by the way, thank you for hitting Super Chat and ask the question, are we heading into a La Nina this fall? Well, it does appear the La Nina is strengthening, but that's cooler ocean water in the Pacific. And that could be the reason why these tropical systems that we have in the Pacific don't seem to be developing into very much. On the other hand, there's enough activity in the Pacific to get the reverse pattern in the Atlantic, because the tropics on the Atlantic just are quiet as can be, and the upper air is a mess. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. In the meantime, you can see there's rain offshore, just off southeastern New England on the latest radar, and then down into North Carolina, particularly what you see in North Carolina. This is the second wave that's going to be coming up tomorrow that'll probably bring rain up through the Delmarva Peninsula, coastal New Jersey, maybe the back edge to New York City, up to about Joe's house, and then heavier rain could come over Long Island and southeastern New England. I've been kind of sticking with the NAM model in terms of the timing and the evolution of all of this, because it seems to have gotten a handle on it back a few days ago, and it hasn't really varied too much from day to day while we've been watching these flip-flops on the global models go on. There are some scattered thunderstorms, a couple of isolated severe thunderstorms in West Virginia, one in eastern Kentucky near the West Virginia border. A lot of showers and storms in southern Florida, the southern half of Florida, and particularly in and around Lake Okeechobee down over toward Fort Myers and Sarasota. And then also on the East Coast, we're seeing some storms moving off the middle coast of Florida there. And then further to the west, some scattered storms in southeast Louisiana, which is an almost daily occurrence this time of year. Also down in South Texas near Corpus Christi, seeing some showers and storms. And there's the storm activity running from New Mexico through Colorado, Wyoming, and on up into Montana. You can almost draw a straight line, Joe, in terms of how these showers and storms are oriented over this large area of geography. And on the Weather Service watches and warnings map for tonight, we do have some flash flood watches that are up for that part of the country. There's not a whole lot going on in the east. We've got flash flood watches in the coastal counties of North Carolina into South Carolina around Myrtle Beach, and even a little bit further south than that. Also on the Florida coastal bend, back westward toward Pensacola and Panama City, we see flash flood watches there. And in northeastern New Mexico and on northward through Colorado, the dark gray areas, that's all air quality alerts because of all the smoke that's around. The northern third of Minnesota, the northern half of Wisconsin, the northern half of Wyoming, and the western third of Montana, all under air quality alerts. And we also have heat advisories up for northernmost Idaho and the west and the eastern half of the state of Washington. But other than that, you see a lot of the country going state by state. There's really not much happening. Kind of an unusual, I guess what we could call an unusual snooze fest here. The Storm Prediction Center's got a marginal risk of severe weather. This is for tomorrow in eastern North Carolina. And you'll notice that the general thunderstorm line runs right up along the immediate coast. You could probably use that line as kind of where the back edge of the rain is going to be. It'll probably be a little bit further west than that, but not much further west than that. And, of course, general thunderstorms that are happening up into the Rockies. So I'm going to put the surface map up. And, Mr. Rayo, you can maybe comment on this, on just exactly how this is all going to play out. But I'm just kind of looking at this. It's kind of looking at this in a way. It's sort of straightforward here in a sense. You've got this stalled frontal boundary, these waves rippling along it. There's no real push from either side, and eventually that stationary front after the last wave goes by is just going to pretty much disintegrate.
Well, before I say anything weather-wise, a lot of people on the chat board were saying that my audio was very choppy. And in fact, a couple of people alluded to the fact that it must be because my batteries are dying or they're about to die. But quite interestingly, I charged my batteries before the show. That's number one. Number two, if they were dying, I would hear a beep in my headset, and it doesn't seem that that's doing that. But I would like to be informed as to whether or not what I've been saying in the last 30, 40 seconds, that sounds like I'm choppy, Joe.
Yeah, no, I think that's, well, they're on a bit of a lag. So I'm looking at, your audio levels are fine on my end and I hear you fine. But as I said earlier, I am having some issues here with respect to the data stream. I'm not sure what exactly is going on, but it seems to have settled down on my end. So hopefully the audio will fix itself.
Okay, and I noticed that my good buddy Dennis Cassia is watching the show tonight and greets all of us from Stellafane. He is up in the Springfield, Vermont area, and that's where I hope to be by the end of the week or the upcoming weekend. And it looks like the weather for that particular outdoor stargazing festival is looking a lot better. It looked like that we were going to have to deal with rain Friday into maybe part of Saturday, but it looks like now Friday looks dry. If there's any precipitation over the weekend up in Vermont, I'd have to say, Joe, it's going to be diurnal. In other words, maybe later in the day as the atmosphere kind of boils up, maybe a couple of renegade showers here and there, although that doesn't necessarily mean a washout. So it looks like the weather is a lot better for the folks up in New England. And Dennis, I envy you because I kind of wish I was up in Vermont already. But we'll be there, later on this week. And as far as the weather is concerned, Joe, yeah, um, for Wednesday through Thursday, there's going to be kind of an upper level trough and an upper level ridge offshore. They don't move very much. The trough is going to have waves of low pressure along it. The more amplified ones are going to be moving Wednesday night, and that will perhaps brush our area with a bit of precipitation tomorrow night. And then there's a second weaker one coming on Thursday, and that one looks like it's going to be more offshore. So again, it looks like we're just going to be getting the a glancing blow from these systems. It does not look like in the immediate New York area anything really significant in terms of precipitation. Now, with that having been said, anyone who's watching, let's say, over toward eastern Long Island or Cape Cod, sticking further out into the ocean water and closer to the track of these waves, you may be in line for a greater chance or a greater probability of not only just getting wet, but maybe even some heavier rainfall, because again, you're a little closer to the storm track. But after we get past the last one on later Thursday and Friday, after that moves offshore, it looks like basically dry weather for the rest of the week into much of the upcoming weekend. Although with the ridge building offshore, it probably also means a slow increase in humidity and also a slow rise in the heat department.
Right. Well, one good plus for today, the dew points were still fairly low in the 50s, which is completely reasonable for this time of year. WPC actually has the back edge of 1.5 inches to about the William Floyd Parkway on Long Island. So you hear that, Bill Uber? You're on the edge of maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches via WPC. And you can see this is all going to be from this frontal wave that's coming up for Wednesday night into Thursday, maybe a little bit more added to that on the Thursday night into Friday morning for southeastern New England. But it's a good soaking shot, but it cuts off sharply. You go from that 1.5 inch plus line to the 1/4 inch plus line over a matter of about 50 or 60 miles, because the back edge of 1/4 inch is just right to about New York City. Going north up the Hudson Valley, it's along the Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New York state lines. And then, of course, further south, in extreme southeastern Virginia, probably just near or around Virginia Beach, and then into eastern North Carolina, an additional 3 or more inches of rain forecast here. Now, some of that's already underway, obviously, and then that extends down to coastal South Carolina. Some heavy rains on the coastal bend of Florida of 3 to 5 inches, and that's justifies the flash flood watch there. Some rains on the order of 3/4 inch to 1.5 inches in the upper Great Lakes and in parts of the northern Rockies. The rain settles down a bit everywhere else. Yeah, once we're done with this wave, for the areas that are going to be impacted by it, which again is right along the immediate coast, there's not going to be much of anything to worry about going through the weekend and into early next week, other than maybe a shower or a thunderstorm that might pop up in one place or another.
And do you agree with the CPC, Joe, that next week it looks like we're on our way toward a spell of rather warm and rather humid conditions?
Yeah, I don't.
Not downright hot.
Yeah, it'll probably get hot at times, but I don't know how far we're going to push the envelope in terms of the heat. This northwest flow has been pretty pesky, wanting to rear its ugly head on a regular basis. It'll be interesting to see what happens, down the road from that along those lines. I'm pulling up the latest NAM model, or as we like to call it, the CLAM model. Just giving the usual circle of death. While the circle of death is churning away, Paul Roman hit Super Chat earlier tonight before the show started, so I want to give him a big thank you. Also, a belated happy birthday to you from David Carter, hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, David. Keith James II. Keith James II Also, again, just to acknowledge you, Keith, again, hitting super chat. And yes, the La Nina, we discussed the La Nina issue. We'll get back to when we show the tropics. But here's the NAM model for this evening, and it's not picking up the rain that's aloft, but clearly nothing is reaching the ground until you get down into eastern North Carolina. And here's that low that moves northward, clips southern coastal counties of New Jersey. It looks like the back edge briefly touches Trenton to about New York City, and then it's got heavy rains coming into Long Island tomorrow evening and into the first part of tomorrow night. They move northeast. It's kind of odd. Normally with a low that's coming up the coast like this, you would see much more rain on the west side, but you really see hardly anything. There's probably I don't want to say it's a tropical low, but there's probably a little bit of a tropical influence here to an extent. But it's a little short wave that's coming up, and you can see the rain move straight north up into northern New England. And that area of yellow and red would probably at least indicate that there might even be a heavier thunderstorm in there that would produce some heavy downpours. And then that goes out. And then here we go. We're Thursday night into Friday. There's one more wave that just kind of clips southeastern New England Friday morning. And then we head into the weekend with the offshore high building westward. I'll switch over to the GFS so that we can carry it a little bit further into next week. And there we go. So now we have to sit here and wait for the circle of death again. Good Lord.
It's been a circle of death. It's been a circle of death night, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've had a few days in a row where we haven't had much in the way of technical issues, so you know that it was bound to happen eventually. And I guess tonight's the night. So here's how the GFS handles the rain for tomorrow. Initially, it kind of pushes it up northwestward, and then it shoves it eastward, where it concentrates it over eastern Long Island, where the NAM is a little bit further to the west. I'm going to respect the NAM on this one. Maybe that the rain winds up being a little bit further west than being modeled by the GFS. And then the last wave, Thursday night into Friday, is a non-event. You can see there's just some scattered stuff. There's a little short wave that comes up from the southwest, from Georgia and Mississippi, that lifts northward and pushes some showers later Saturday afternoon in Virginia and North Carolina, but those move out to the east. Sunday, it's all about southwest flow, a little high to the north, but there's not really much to this, backdoorish type. There's a very weak backdoor cold front there, very weak. And then, Monday, Tuesday, I'm trying to see when the next important cold front comes. Looks like maybe Thursday. There's another one of these fronts, Joe, that approaches and kind of stalls out nearby. There's no real push behind it. And then there's a slightly stronger front that comes through late next week, Friday night. And, but even there,
it looked like they were trying to make something out of a backdoor front Sunday night and Monday. And then they just kind of bounced it right back to the earth and put us back in a humid airflow. It's
very weak. I'm going to let the upper air load on this. I'll come back to it. While it's loading, I can switch over to the tropics because I already preloaded those maps. So let's go take a look at the I always like to look at the shear map, and of course the Hurricane Center is talking about two tropical waves. The first one, and it's shown by this low that you see on the lower right, that's moving northwestward toward the Cape Verde Islands. It just basically disappears. And you'll notice that after that, there's kind of a little second tropical wave, and that a low that pops up along about Thursday to the west of the Cape Verde Islands. But then that disappears. And one of the issues we been saying the last couple of days, there's just a lot of shear out in the Atlantic. I'm going to use I got to find a color that would work better here. Let's see if a dark blue. Oh, no, maybe the pink might work. Let's see if the pink will work. No, the purple.
Pink?
No, it's purple.
Fuchsia.
No, it's purple.
Okay.
It's purple, and for some reason it's coming out red. I don't know why. Let's see. Here it is. So we're looking now at 25,000 feet, and you can see the trough here in the eastern part of the United States and the jet that goes all the way across the Atlantic. But also note, you've got easterly shear down in the tropical Atlantic, at least halfway out, and then of course there's this big upper low that is sitting out between the Azores and Bermuda that's moving westward, and that's creating more shear across the subtropical Atlantic. This is just not an ideal, this is not a good setup at all for tropical cyclones to form. And going through the weekend, another tropical wave there pops out there. You see there's a 1014 low southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. But here too, there's a lot of westerly shear across the tropical Atlantic. Here we are now this is now looking at August 12th, so we're 8 days from now, and I mean you've just got a belt of westerly winds in the tropical Atlantic, along and north of 20 degrees north. I mean, it's just a mess. It really is. Now, there is a large area of light wind shear that develops from the Cape Verde Islands westward. So if there's some kind of tropical wave were to get into this zone, then you might have something try to develop, but the model's not really picking up on anything. And then it looks like a pretty big system moves off the African coast in a week. But here too, I mean, it really doesn't do very much, and there's a lot of southerly shear. You've got, look at this. This is a mess, Joe. Look at these westerly winds all over the place in the subtropical Atlantic, and then you've got southerly shear in the eastern half of the major the MDR. I mean, it just is not a good setup, and it kind of conflicts with the fact that you've got this strengthening La Nina going on, because that should favor tropical cyclone development on the Atlantic side. But there's something else wrong here. So we could point to the La Nina all we want, but there's something else going on in the Atlantic side that is keeping things from getting going here in the first part of August.
Yeah, well, I think whatever it is, it's going to be giving way to what we usually see, climatologically speaking, in the latter part of August and on into September, which will be a revving up, so to speak, of tropical activity. Just for the moment, at least, let's enjoy this spell of tranquility. As I said yesterday, compared to last year, we're already 4 letters behind. We were already dealing today, I think, with Itzia, and here we are with. We're only up to the E storm, which is Elsa. That's our last tropical system. And as you pointed out just a few moments ago, Joe, no real activity in sight, at least in the foreseeable next few days. So let's hope it stays that way for a little while.
I'm noticing that the ridging that builds in the eastern part of the United States. It's not a screaming upper high, but you do have higher pressures from the mid-Atlantic down to the Gulf states, and the westerlies in Canada pull up north of the New York State-Canada line and into southeastern Canada. So, yeah, that's a very warm to hot and humid scenario. And running through the upper air through next week, there is a trough that drops down to Lake Winnipeg and drops southeastward into the Great Lakes, but it's not as strong as the one we just experienced. So there's an upper low that goes through there in eastern Canada. I mean, this is not a screaming hot pattern. On the other hand, it certainly would be, you could describe as a very warm and humid pattern that's setting up. But there's still hints of troughing in the east, but the amplitude now is not quite there like it has been. So I think this just smells early August.
Oh, yeah. And somebody on my Facebook page was saying, I got to put up my forecast for, later on in the week, and it's the weekend next week, talking about very warm or even hot temperatures. The guy was talking like, like, wow, dang it, it's going to turn warm, it's going to be turning humid. How do you like that? And I said, yeah, isn't that amazing that we're having this type of weather pattern in August? It's August, folks. You got to expect that this is what you're going to see at this time of the year. Or maybe it's just that people are getting used to these shots of unseasonably cool or unseasonably low levels of humidity. And when we do finally get back into a typical weather pattern, they get really upset. But you got to live with it. That's what this time of the year is all about.
And you're still going to wind up with a lot of people saying that it's a hot summer, in spite of the fact that when you look at the month of July, most places were close to or barely above normal. Or if you use New York City as the dividing line, because I randomly pulled up some stats from a few cities either side of that. It looks like everybody, New York City North and East, actually had a below average temperature-wise July. And it was just a little bit above average if you go south and west, not by much. A fraction, you're talking maybe a fraction of a degree to maybe one degree, and that's just statistical noise as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the thing that made July, at least in New York City, significant was that it was the third rainiest July, and that kept midsummer heat in check. We had at Central Park, the final total is in 11.09 inches of rain. July 21st, again, the third rainiest July on record, behind 1889 and 1975, and the 15th wettest month overall. Let me repeat that. In terms of all of the months from 1869 to the present, July ranked number 15 on that list. And it was the first month with 10 inches or more of precip since June of 2013, the most to fall in any month since August of 2011. 2011, we had 18.95 inches. That thanks in part to, or chiefly, to those two tropical systems, Irene, and the one that came after Irene. I forget the name, what it was. I think it was K or something. Anyway, it was a very wet month. 18 days of measurable rain, second greatest number of days with rain in July. And besides being rainy, this was, as you just pointed out, Joe, in terms of temperatures, this was not a hot month of July. In fact, it was the coolest July since 2009. When all Julys are considered, July 2021 is right in the middle of the pack, temperature-wise, 54% being warmer. The combination of a warmer than average June and July is making it 1.5 degrees cooler so far for the summer of 2021 than average. And now we have to deal with August. But most definitely, the reason why we had such a cool cool July was because
was the rain. Yeah.
All of that rain. Yes.
Right. And certainly, yes, the first 3 days of August are below average in terms of temperatures. When you don't break 80 degrees and you're supposed to go to 85 or 86, that is definitely below average. The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting Super Chat tonight and tells us that Mother Briller began walking today, so she may well be on her way to start training for the Winter Olympics and the skating competition. And we could see her doing a triple sockhow and a triple axel, or maybe even a triple Lutz. She put all three of them together, so we're glad to hear that, and we're always rooting for you. So good to hear. Speaking of which,
that's wonderful.
It is. Well, speaking of which, how about we just get a little Les Jeopardy de Brillard underway?
All right. Well, I'll have to just go to the magic hermetically sealed envelope and get hold of the Jeopardy questions for tonight. I have to switch my profile. This is so annoying, and I have two Facebook pages, my professional page and my personal page, and when Scott sends me the questions, I have to go to my personal page. If I'm on my professional page, I have to do some switching and button pushing or whatever.
Well, that's because I have to do those. I have to do the same thing, Joe, in double and triplicate. But that part of it, I pre-show prepare.
Okay, well. So he writes, "Hi, Joe. Like last night, but as a suggestion from the chat board, Hints for each question. Replace each capital letter W with, oh, wait a minute, replace each capital letter with a word. So here we go. Get 4 out of 5 to pass. And Mr. Rayo, you can give the hint on one of the 5. Number 1, 18H on a G, C. And it's a hint.
18H on a GC. The only thing, the only 18H's, the only thing I could think of for 18, would be with an H would be 18 holes on a golf course.
And you got it. Dang,
Oh wow! Well, gee, that's
Isn't that amazing?
That's great. 18 holes on a golf course.
Oh, Thelma!
Yes, exactly.
You're a honeymooner fan. You know what that is. All right, number 2. 66B of the B. And a hint, religion.
Oh, well, that okay. So it's got to be 66 books of the Bible.
And you get it again. Ding, ding, ding.
Whoa, I'm 2 for 2 here.
Yeah.
Well, wow, boy, I am smart. Go on.
Well, this time I'm not gonna give you a hint. All right.
All right. Okay.
At least unless you're floundering. How about 5T on an F?
5T on an F. 5T on an F. I'm going to think that F is 5T on an F.
See, now we're back to last night.
Wait, hold on. 5T, so, well, it's not 5 fingers on your hand, but it is 5 toes. So, could it be 5 toes on a foot?
5 toes on a foot. You get the big prize, Joe, from Dicker and Dicker.
Is it a Dicker and Dicker of Beverly Hills?
Yes. All right, and that was without a hint. How about number 4? 3W on a T.
3W on a T. 3W on a T. Well, I know it's not 3 witches on a trampoline, so that's not it. What has what has 3? A car has 4 wheels. So
if I gave you Scott's hint, you'd get it immediately.
So a car has 4 wheels. What has 3? Well, how about this one? How about 3 wheels on a tricycle?
How about you got number 4?
Oh, good Lord! I'm on a streak.
Yes. And here is number 5. This is the last one for tonight. Number 5 is 13 is UFS.
13 is U. 13
is U.
Oh, good. 13 is unlucky number for most folks. So I'll say 13 is unlucky for some. How's that sound?
How do you like that, Joe? You're 5 for 5.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And let me point out that a week from Friday will be Friday the 13th. So there you go. Not unlucky for you tonight, though.
No. Well, other than the fact that there's no real cash prize.
Yes.
If we had a cash prize out of this, that would be great. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that. Maybe we should do it again tomorrow.
Maybe you should, and I'll be next on the hot seat tomorrow night, I guess.
All right. Well, we'll give it a whirl. Okay, folks. Sorry for the issues tonight. It does happen sometimes. Thanks for being here on this Tuesday. So Joe and I will be back tomorrow night, Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Time. So be sure to tune in. Thanks for all the super chat hits tonight. Also, as always, deeply appreciated. And that's it. So we'll see you tomorrow. Nighty night, everybody.
We'll be here. We're not going ever. Right now, I'm just going to go out and take out the garbage. So.
Well, I had to unclog my bathroom drain today, and actually it was kind of funny now that you bring it up. Maybe we'll hold on for a second. I won't end the show yet. But I had bought, when I moved into my house, I bought some supplies in case I need it. And I bought this product at Home Depot here called Green Gobbler, okay, to use to unclog, if your drain gets clogged. So I haven't had to use it, but my bathroom drain was running slow, the bathroom sink. So I said, you know what, let me put it in there. And I happened to look at it. I opened it up, and then I was looking at the back of the can. It comes from Comac in New York on Long Island, oddly enough. And I have to tell you, it's great. It's supposed to be environmentally friendly, so it's like clean Drano essentially. A politically correct Drano, and it did the job. So I had to take care of that. And then I had a water issue, and I had to call the water company because my water was, a lovely shade of brown. So that wasn't good. But they came and did something outside, and everything is fine. So that was the extent of my day. So I just wanted.
Do you have a well?
Yes, I have 2 wells.
Okay. Well, so do I. And in fact, tomorrow, if Renata's watching, most definitely first thing tomorrow after breakfast, we change the filter.
You changed your water filter? Yeah, I changed mine I changed mine a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I have 3 water filters. I have one that comes into the house, a second one attached to the faucet, and then I take that water. And then I put it into the, it's like a Brita filter. It's a different company. It's a different brand. It's called, I think, No Zero or Non-Zero, something like that. And so I filter my water 3 times before I drink it. So it's practically pure H2O.
And let's do a little thing. If you go on your YouTube, you will find not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different videos about Green Gobbler, such as how does Green Gobbler drain cleaner work? Does it work? Real plumber test. So if you want to find out more about this product that Joe just mentioned, just go on YouTube and you can find oodles of stuff about the Green Gobbler.
By the way, they're not a sponsor. I'm not endorsing the product, and they're not paying me to say this. No. But I did use it, and it really worked great. You had to pour boiling water in the sink with it, and it cleared it right up. It was excellent. So anyhow, that was the most exciting part of my day.
If that was the most exciting part of your day, you sure need a life.
Well, it was either that or the fact that I ate half a pound of cherries before the show started, which I promise I will never do again.
Yes, we don't need to find out about that.
Yes, exactly.
So,